listening to The Devin Dyer Show.
Anyways, welcome to another episode of The Devin Dyer Show. Today we're so lucky to have Rick Lindsey with us. And which insurance company are we calling your insurance company? I see the X Insurance.
Right. X Insurance is the retail brand. Like Lloyd's of London can't advertise to buyers in the insurance business, so neither can Prime. Prime Insurance Company is, that's what really gives me the ability to help people when big insurance companies can't or won't, because I'm the insurance company.
Right.
So I deal with agents and brokers nationwide. I have about 7,000 retail agents and about 400 wholesalers, which don't touch the customer.
Right.
If your local agent can't get coverage, he would go to a wholesaler because most cases they can't get to the company directly. Because I was an agent or broker in the beginning, I set it up, contrarian to what everybody else does. So rather than appoint special agents, I just want to get to the customers.
Right.
And,
and cut out all the stuff in the middle.
Well, and, the agents are there. There's 900 insurance companies, so I'm not trying to cut them out.
Right.
I have one of my biggest clients is a big trucking company that delivers oversized mobile homes for Warren Buffett.
Right.
And nobody can give him the coverage he needs. But, he's a really good guy, and he's been with Lockton, which is one of the biggest brokers in the world. Then he went to McGriff, which is one of the other biggest brokers in the world, owned by BB&T Bank. And this year he moved to a company called Assured Partners, which is a new big broker that's been buying up brokers to be the biggest. So, but I want to deal with him.
Right.
He doesn't even want to get quotes from anybody else anymore.
Right.
I want you to get quotes. We want to know what the market is.
Right.
I don't want to take advantage of people. I want to make sure that, like my own insurance, I don't write my own insurance unless I can't get straight answers from insurance companies that make sense.
So here's my question. When you were 16, what did you think you were going to be doing in your life?
Well,
where were you at and what were you doing?
I was playing hockey and sports, and I actually thought I'd be a professional hockey player. Tried out for the Olympic hockey team in '79 and got cut, the last cut, and then I went to work for my dad. So I barely graduated high school because school was a waste of time. Right? I wanted to be a professional hockey player. So when that didn't work out, I just got into my dad's business, and from there the rest is kind of history.
And was his business insurance?
Yeah, he was a wholesaler, so he didn't deal directly with the clients. He dealt with insurance agents on hard-to-place stuff. I went to Evel Knievel's Jump of the Snake Canyon when I was 12 years old with my dad because he insured it.
Oh, wow. That was one of my heroes, Evel Knievel, when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I actually tried to jump not a canyon in my backyard,
right.
And I had a bicycle that the seat wasn't hooked down very well, and when I went off the hill, the seat stuck into my leg. I've still got a star and stitches, but it was from watching Evel Knievel.
Right.
And then my favorite toy was there was an Evel Knievel wind-up toy that had the handle on it, and you'd put them on there, and
right.
So that's interesting. Wow.
Well, now you'd sue Evel Knievel because you watched it on TV and you got hurt, so the lawyers would, have you believing you could get money. In 1986, nobody would insure rafting, helicopter skiing, any of the recreational stuff, and they blamed it on litigation.
Right.
That's when tort reform started, and I got into tort reform, which now I'm convinced is a waste of time. Right? We have the best legal system in the world. You can win. You just have to spend a lot of money
to
win. And most people don't have a lot of money. So that's why you buy insurance. That's why you go to a big bank, right? Because they have money.
Right.
But insurance companies have become these huge machines that they're not willing to spend a lot of money. They're trying to save money. So take your money. Then when you have a claim, they're trying to mitigate their damages and reduce the exposure and settle. Everything's settled. 98% of all lawsuits are settled, which my experience is about 80% of all lawsuits are bullshit.
Is it that the insurance companies are working together and they just understand that's how the system works?
Well, it's just over time, so let's say you're getting sued. You've never been sued before. You're having to be deposed. Your employees are having to be deposed. And 6 months, you're down the road, you renew your insurance, you got an open claim. People are saying, why isn't that claim closed? And your insurance is going up. And so at some point, the lawyers are setting it up just like a criminal situation. They accuse you of the worst thing, then they give you a door out. So they're suing you for all this money. Then your own insurance company, your own lawyer is going to come to you and say, look, this is bullshit, but it's going to cost us $100,000.
Right.
We can settle for $50,000. We're going to save $50,000. So even claims people, my own claims people come to me. They'll say, we're going to save if we settle this. I'm like, are you that dumb?
So what are your thoughts on that? You think if you're in the right, you fight?
No, it's scorched earth. I call the lawyers now, the way they play the game, they're legal terrorists, right? They bring up bullshit lawsuits. I had one in Naples, Florida, and South Florida is a legal hellhole. So I go down there, meet with a guy. He can't get insurance. It's a nice family business, father, son. I said, what happened? Oh, AIG, who I paid last year, paid $1 million claim that they shouldn't have paid, and now nobody will insure me. I'm like, okay, so you got nice trucks. You seem like good people. I'll insure you, but you're going to have to pay more than you paid AIG because you paid this big claim you shouldn't have paid.
Right.
It's just math, right? So AIG's price was $250 for 40 trash trucks running around South Florida. I said, that was never the right price. That's too cheap because shit does happen, right? So right price, if you're a good guy, is $400. And I'll get you there, but because you paid $1 million claim, $550 is what you got to pay, and over time we'll get you down to $400. And eventually, stupid's going to show up and beat my $400
every time, right?
Yeah, they're going to show up, and you're going to go with them. My goal is that we're going to have a good enough relationship that just like paying more for a car or a better piece of equipment, you feel the value, so you're going to pay more.
Do you think that's human nature, though?
Well, insurance is a piece of paper, right? You get in and you drive a Chevy or you drive a Bentley, right? You can feel the difference. When somebody hands you a piece of paper and it costs you more, man, you really got to have a relationship to feel good about that with the company,
right? Not
necessarily the middleman, right? When the lawsuits come in, it's the company. So anyway, I tell the guy, says, look, my deal is I like beating up lawyers that bring frivolous lawsuits. I think that's my job in life, and that's what I do. That's what I've done for 40 years. I've gone to the Supreme Court, won when every lawyer told me I was going to lose, handled over 400,000 lawsuits, and the lawyers, they're risk adverse. Right?
Do you have fear when you go into that, or is it you don't have any fear?
No. I worry about everything all the time because my whole career, everybody's told me I'm dumb and I'm going to fail, and you can't do it that way. Now I have the best little insurance company on the planet, and I can do things that AIG can't do. If you called them up today, they can't issue you a fuel hauler a $10 million limit. They might go to 5. They might go to 2. I can do 10.
Right.
That's because I'm successful. But I don't insure stupid people.
Right.
And I don't compete with stupid insurance companies. So just like you go to a job, somebody's bid at stupid.
Yeah.
It's like, Dude, I'm too smart for this. See
When I was younger, I didn't know any better.
Well,
When I was
true.
younger and I started my business when I was 21. Never worked for anybody. I had no clue what I was doing. I just went out and bought stuff and then went and started knocking doors and getting work.
Right.
And I had no clue what I was doing. The first job I landed was the University of the Hospital in Provo. My goal for the year, this is how dumb it was to make $30,000. That was my goal.
Right.
But that was when I was.
I know.
I mean, I just thought if I could get 30,000, I'd be okay. So we actually went to Utah Valley Hospital, knocked on their door, and went and met with the guy that was over maintenance, and we got a $300,000 contract to maintain all the asphalt. I didn't even have the equipment to do it.
Right.
So he actually said, "Well, let me give you 50% down." I didn't even ask for it.
Right.
He gave me $150,000. I took that money and I went out and got my equipment.
People need good people. That's what I tell people. You Johnny on the spot at the right time.
Yeah.
And he's probably so disappointed with the contractors he could hire.
Right.
That you were a better option, and you were a good person, and it worked out.
And I was making better money because I didn't know what the market was.
Right.
I had no idea. And then when I found out what the market was, I was high, but I was actually profitable, not extremely.
Right.
But then when I saw the other guys doing these jobs, I thought, oh, those guys have been in it for a long time. I can do it for that. I couldn't. I didn't know my numbers.
Right. Well, and so numbers, that's what it's all about. So to me, this trash truck in Florida, he said, so we're going to fight frivolous lawsuits. He's like, yeah, I'm a fighter. So he's driving down the freeway. 8 motorcycles are going 90. He's going 60. One of them runs right into the back of his truck, rips the mud flap off, and he's a quadriplegic. So they sue. Their story is the mud flap came flying off the truck. I'm a quadriplegic. So, you got our story, you ran into us.
Right.
Their story, mud flap came flying off the truck. The deal is he's in a wheelchair, right? If he had no serious injuries, it wouldn't be a play. But since there's serious injuries, frivolous lawsuit, 2 years down the road, we're ready to go to trial. Now, as an agent, before I would have been begging the insurance company to fight this claim, and they would have been moving towards settlement because it's a serious injury and it's Florida, and it's worth $40 million, right? Why are we messing around with this? It ain't worth anything. He ran into us.
We're not in the wrong.
A penny, right? So, any other insurance company at that point, when you're going to trial, would have had a legal bill of $200,000. Because I manage my claims in-house nationwide, I'm ready to go to trial for $40,000. Okay, in any lawsuit where there's serious injury, they're going to play their checkmate card, which is they demand that you pay them the limit today. And if you don't pay it, we're coming after your personal shit.
And that's what they do day in and day out, right?
Yeah, they're setting this up. It's a game. I know it's coming. That's why I ask you, if it's frivolous, we're going to fight, right? Scorched earth, we never settle when we're right. So I had that agreement with this guy. So he calls me up. He says, Rick, they demanded my policy limit. So I think I want you to pay. And I said, okay, I can go pay. But what are you going to do for insurance? Because you say you can't afford $550. We're trying to get you to $400.
You got to stay in business.
Now you want me to pay another claim that we shouldn't be paying. And I said, so what are you afraid of? And he has his lawyer on the phone. And his lawyer says, well, he's afraid of losing his business. He could lose $5 million. This business is worth $5 million. I said, who's it worth $5 million to? Because I don't know anybody that wants it, right? You have to keep paying people money that they don't deserve. It ain't worth anything. I says, we need to look these plaintiffs in the eye and say, look, if you're suing me frivolously, I'm going to fight and we're going to win. If we lose, we're going to appeal. And if you win the appeal, then you can have my trash trucks I owe money to the bank on, and I can't afford the insurance. So, he says to me, I think I want you to pay it. I said, okay, I can pay it. So they hang up. Then he calls me back without the lawyer, and he says, so will you send me a loss run? And I'm like, yeah. So you know why people want loss runs is so they can go shop their insurance, because you got to have 5-year loss runs. So I told him, I says, we had an agreement, and I'm doing my job, right? I know how to manage this claim. I've only spent $40,000. You would have a $200,000 to $400,000 bill from any insurance company at this point. That'd be worse for you on your loss run. Worse yet, I have this reserved at $250,000, right? So every regulator and every actuary, everybody in my business says I'm a dumbass because you're under reserved. That claim's worth
They don't
$1 million.
even want you dealing with them.
Yeah, they want me to just reserve it at $1 million and pay it because it's a quadriplegic. I reserve my cases based on the facts. The facts are we shouldn't pay a penny on this.
Right.
And I believe I can win for less than $250,000, but you're telling me to settle. Now you're asking me for a loss run. So I'm changing my reserve from $250,000 to $1 million. Here's your loss run. Go get quotes. So he calls me back 2 weeks later and says, nobody will insure me. And I said, well, I probably could have told you that. You're a victim of the system and you're playing the game wrong. You have the right partner, right? With anybody else, you'd have just paid the claim, you'd be screwed. Right. So he says, so will you insure me still? And I said, yeah, I will, but the price is going up again to $750 because you're not a man of your word. Right, and we're going to agree that I'm going to renew you, and we're going to fight this claim. We're not going to settle. So he says, okay, we renew him at $750. Within 3 months, the plaintiff's lawyer calls and just drops the case. So zero.
Wow. With
prejudice, can never be filed again. So
but is it because you're leaning up against them and not backing down?
It's because we called their bluff.
Right.
And they knew they were going to lose.
Right.
But everybody else pays, right? So anyway, I call him up. I says, it's your lucky day. Case is over. He's like, oh, you're kidding me. I'm like, no. I says, you know what? I'm also going to drop your price back down to $500,000 because now you know, right? I could. A lot of people tell me, no, you shouldn't do that because he's been mistrained. He's doing what he thinks he should do. Lawyers are telling him settle.
And I'm a business owner, right? So I'm scared. I don't know the system.
Right.
And I'm trusting that somebody's telling me the right thing.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, now we just renewed him. We got him down to $450,000 a year. We've been through hell together, right? Now he trusts me.
Right.
So I have clients. I just took a client of mine that owns Glacier Raft Company up in Glacier, Montana. I've insured him for 35 years, took him down to Florida fishing. And, he's had death cases. He's been an expert witness for me on cases with other people. And, if I have an insured that's never had a claim before, I bring in an expert and me, and I'm meeting with you. The lawyers are going to be there.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you what the lawyers are going to tell you. They're going to tell you to settle. Right? But lawyers don't grow businesses.
And
lawyers
they don't understand the business.
They understand their business.
Right.
But I say when lawyers graduate from school, they're all, they remove their balls.
Right.
They have they're mitigators, right? They're never going to risk it.
They don't fight.
Yeah, their job is to talk us into settling. And so, I've won a lot of big lawsuits against a lot of people. My own lawyers told me I was going to lose. Every one of them. I sued Countrywide on my house in Heber. I almost lost in 2008.
That was a good time, huh?
Yeah. But, I sued them 5 years after that. Every lawyer said I was going to lose. Cost me $700,000. I don't ask lawyers how much their bill is. That's
right.
The other thing, insurance companies, and lawyers come to me and say, we'll give you our special rate. And I always look at them, I didn't ask you your rate. right? I don't care about the rate. I want to win.
Right.
I want the best lawyer. In New York, I pay $1,200 an hour, but I'm smart enough to know I don't need them for more than 5 days or 15 days.
Right.
I don't hire them for 90 days. And that's just being educated, like we were talking about, bidding jobs.
Right.
It's experience. But, it's sad that there's that much loss. The insurance industry has grown like the banks, who got us in trouble in '08.
Yeah, it was the
bankers.
Yeah.
They were the smartest guys on the planet, right?
Yeah.
They're all the ones that went to college and way smarter than me or you.
And then they got a lot of free money.
Yeah, and then,
that you're giving them.
They lose their way.
Yeah.
Right? They don't understand I believe outsourcing is kind of at the root of the loss. Because when you outsource, it sounds good, right? I can get rid of my employees, my paperwork employees,
Right.
and have it processed in India or claims work. But now they're doing a task without the goal in mind. They're just performing.
Right. And they're not
task.
seeing the person that they're performing it for.
Right. We make unhappy customers. So my boat at Lake Powell got crashed into. That's why it's not there anymore. My houseboat, the cruiser.
Oh, was it a wave runner that ran into it or another
It
boat?
was a big houseboat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's in San Diego getting fixed. Hopefully it'll be back soon.
Yeah. So at this time of year right now, let's say all these small businesses, what should they be looking at on their insurance? And I want to share a couple of stories with you from my insurance. So when I started my business at 21, I got my insurance from State Farm Insurance. And the reason I got it from State Farm Insurance was that was my insurance company, like my just personal.
Right.
So what's interesting is I had a guy that was insuring my commercial trucks, 10-wheelers, Kenworth, Peterbilt type stuff. He didn't even have me on the right policy. So I'm 21. I went to my insurance company, said, hey, I need insurance on this. He was a rep, and he put insurance on him, and I didn't even have the right coverage that I needed.
Right.
So I ran for about 5 years with really horrible insurance coverage, like I was just hanging out there. I had no idea. Then I started doing some work for the state of Utah, and they looked at all my insurance stuff, and they're like, wow, you're not even close on your coverage. Right. So that's something that people need to be aware of starting this year is they might think they have insurance and they don't. So what should they do to make sure that they're covered and they have insurance?
So before COVID, the insurance world was in big trouble and things were changing. So with COVID, it's all magnified. And most insurance companies are adding exclusions to their policy because of COVID. So whether it's liability or business interruption type coverage, they're adding COVID exclusions to make sure and exclude it. So, if I insure your business, your auto, anything, and you deliver product or you show up at a job site and you get sued for COVID, that to me is like running a restaurant and not having food poisoning coverage, right? So instead of doing what everybody else is doing, we're actually including COVID coverage. Active shooter, assault and battery, these are things that lawyers love to sue for now. So, what I do is I want to make it easy for people. I say, let's look at what you currently have. And the most important thing I'm going to look at is obviously the coverages they give you, but more importantly, what are the exclusions? And what are the limitations? Those are the things that are a surprise, and you don't have clear vision of when the claim comes in, what am I going to get here?
So here's a question for you with you saying that. Let's say I have an employee that is angry and comes in, and this actually happened in Nashville just recently.
Right.
Let's say I have an employee that's upset and comes in onto the job site and shoots, kills somebody, to other people. What kind of liability do I have for that?
Well, you have liability. Your insurance is going to exclude it.
Right, but I'm still liable.
Oh, yeah.
But that's something I'm not even thinking of, right? I haven't. I've got my commercial coverage. What do I need that for? But that's the sort of stuff that we overlook.
Well, and that's, my goal again is to be a good partner. So most insurance companies go after classes of people or classes of business. They say you can't insure towing and repo, or you can't insure contractors in Colorado, and that's because they're fearful. They've been beat up in those states. I could insure anybody anywhere because I insure good people. So there's good people in every business.
Right.
So that's the most important thing. And then when you insure them, I want to make a happy customer. So if I insure your home in Florida and you go with Pure or State Farm or whoever, they're going to exclude wind and flood.
Which I'm going to get wind and flood in Florida.
That's really
every
all
couple
you
years.
need.
Yeah.
That's really all you need, right?
Right.
The other stuff is, it's like everybody else, but in Florida, those are the two things you need. So I take it on. I quote you wind and flood, and if you don't want it, you reject it.
Right.
Then it's a
Right.
because you rejected it, right? But when people buy insurance, they're not interested in the details, and so that's where I say, look, if you're not interested in having a good partner and understanding the exclusions
Right.
and limitations that other people have that we don't, and then when the claim comes in, this is the plan. What's the plan? And homeowners, a lot of times you might have a historic home, you might have a log cabin, you might, want to tear it down and build something new. As an insurance guy, I need to know that to be able to help make you happy
Right.
at the event of a claim. But no insurance people sell anything based on how we're going to manage the claim. They're looking at being the cheapest to write the policy and, produce business.
So I have a couple of thoughts on that. I'm the kind of guy that if I get into business with somebody, I stay and the price doesn't matter, because it's whatever you're putting in the bank over the last 10, 15, 20 years, that's what I go off of.
Right.
And so we have insurance people come to us all the time on personal stuff, right, wanting to quote us. And a quote means nothing to me.
Right.
Like I don't care if you tell me you're going to pay me to insure me. I don't care, because I have a history. I know what's happened time after time when I had situations.
Right.
And so I just dealt with that with her maybe 2 months ago. She's like, do you want to talk to this guy? And when they come in, I say, look, I'm only being nice to you because my wife's being nice to you, but I'm telling you up front, I'm not buying anything from you. So if you need to leave now, just leave.
Right.
So the other thing that I'm thinking, to me, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. How many construction companies, and I have dump trucks. And so the guy with the garbage trucks, I don't think there's a dumber business to be in, liability wise. And you probably know better than I do than somebody that has a bunch of trucks on the road, with truck drivers that are in and out. And we actually bought all brand new trucks just because I don't want the liability of old trucks on the road.
Right.
But what percentage do you think, and there's a lot of people that listen to this show that are just good old boy dirt diggers, maybe have 5, 15 dump trucks and a bunch of trackles, but how many of those people do you think are underinsured and they think they're covered?
Well, every one of them you just have to look at. Some of them are issued wrong. That's the biggest thing I see.
That was me on
certain rules, right? Like certain companies say we only want guys who operate under 5. And then there's other guys who say we don't want anybody under 10. So they have their sweet spot. But if you go back and look what they wanted 3 years ago, that's not what they wanted. They all evolve, and that doesn't work with you.
Right.
What I say is if you're good, I don't care whether you got 1 truck, 5 trucks, 10. What does that matter? If you're good.
And what's your definition of good?
You buy new trucks.
Right.
Right. If I tell you cameras are probably a good thing because it helps us, and you say, I don't want cameras because it shows when I'm at fault. I say, okay, I'm not going to make you buy cameras, but I'm telling you that if you're good,
right,
you're better off having the evidence.
Right.
Even when you're at fault, we can go settle the claim sooner instead of upsetting people. That's one of the things I tell people is You know, we want to go at the claim, right? If
It's going to show exactly what happened.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, you don't, I do taxi cabs in Philadelphia, and the one guy was like, I'm better off stretching it out for 3 years. No, you're not. If you ran over a guy in the crosswalk, you should go and offer to pay.
Right.
Right. You don't lay back and feed the dragons.
Right.
The lawyers they want you to be an asshole.
Yeah.
They want you to drag it out. But as a good person, look, let's pretend like you don't have insurance. That makes it real easy, right? If you don't have insurance and you run somebody off the road, you're not going to ignore them if you're a good person.
Right.
You're going to go to them and say, you know, sorry, what can I do to make it right? And as an insurance company, I always tell people we want to put them back to where they were.
Right.
I don't want to give them money.
We just want to be at zero when we're done.
Yeah, it's sorry, right? What did it cost you? Let's put them back to where they were. And when we do that, I mean, I settled a death case with a doctor here that died in an avalanche for $30,000 within 3 months. But it's because my insured reported it to me. He's a world-class guide. We went to the family. He worked with them. You get the body home. If you don't do that stuff, you're creating an enemy.
Right.
So part of your job is dealing with the shit that your business creates.
And that just happens. That's just business.
It was like rock chips, you know.
Yeah.
That's something that your insurance company is going to give you a deductible and try and make you responsible. Hey, how about we get a plan and we be proactive and you make happy customers? So instead of people thinking, oh, that trucking company there, no, they actually were nice to me. I called them up and they had a process that worked.
I'll tell you 3 insurance stories and I'll be quick. This is my insurance experience. I've been in business over 25 years. My first situation was I had a guy driving a truck pulling a track hoe here in Provo. Down at Center Street on I-15, coming around the corner. I don't know if you where that turn is, but it's between Center Street and University Avenue. Yeah. Turns right. So he's pulling a track hoe, going 60 miles an hour, speed limit 65, 75, goes around that corner and traffic has completely stopped. So that corner's a little bit blind. He goes around, he goes to the left lane because that's where it was clear, and he goes up against the median. Well, a little van was trying to kind of go through while he was going, and he's trying to get it shut down. So the tracks on the side of the track hoe catch the van and kind of like a can opener, open it up. Right. The guy goes to the hospital. The guy's not hurt. The guy's fine. So my insurance company buys him a new van. I'm freaking out because that's my only first experience with something dumb. So we pay for a new van, don't think anything of it. 2 years later, Christmas Eve, 11 o'clock at night, somebody knocks on my door and we're getting sued for pain and suffering. Right. That guy's had a divorce, can't go to church anymore. He's angry all the time. Right. And you probably have hundreds of stories like that. That was my first story. I was scared for a long time when they were suing him, and they actually settled for like $400,000. Right. And then come to find out that was the guy that sued the church, sued everybody he's ever worked for, and that's the guy's deal. Right. So probably if I would have had you guys probably would have maybe looked into it and said, we're not settling with this guy. Right. Yeah. So that's my first story. The second story is we were doing work in Spanish Fort Canyon, clear up on the hill, and we were building a road for an electrical company. And we had a boulder roll off the hill, roll down the mountain, probably 1,500 yards, 2,000 yards, roll under a semi-truck and out in front of a car, and the car hit it and totaled the car. Right. So he had no idea where the boulder came from, and it was a drop-off, so there's rocks fall off all the time. So my guy calls, he's like, oh, this just happened. We walked out there. The kid had no idea where the rock came from. We said, look, we broke that loose. That's us. Get with their insurance company. We're going to take care of you. So that one we made sure that we covered. Another one, I had a lady driving a brand new Audi with a sunroof, and she was driving behind our dump truck. We're going 70 miles an hour, and she's driving straight behind our dump truck. Our dump truck's empty, and her window blows out, her sunroof, but from the inside up. I don't know what happened. But she claims the rock came out of the back of the dump truck and hit her sunroof, and she watched it. Right. And we were empty. Right. That lady, we fought. for like 2 years. I don't know how long it is. I don't know how long they go on, but she kept trying to get us to pay. And I'm like, there's no way that happened. She settled for $100 cash out of principal. Right. But I'm with you. If we broke something, we're going to fix it. We're going to take responsibility and we're going to take care of it. But even her sunroof was like $400. But I'm like, we didn't break her sunroof, right. And I'm going to fight till the death.
Well, and the key is if like a building contractor, they build houses, and you got all kinds of different people. Most people know there's going to be some settling and stuff. Right. Other people want you to fix everything forever. Yeah. So some people just ignore the problem. That's the wrong approach, right?
You're talking as the contractor, as
somebody calls you up, you should go over there, you should take pictures, because now you're gathering information that helps you if they're full of crap.
Yeah.
Right? And it also gives you the opportunity to fix it. So, again, in most cases, insurance has encouraged people not to do the right thing. It's like, don't do anything,
kind of like
don't say anything.
Hide, right?
Yeah. That's insurance handles that. No, it doesn't. Insurance makes everything worse,
right?
Really, because you ignore it, they're not handling it, and people get upset. And so, I have right now a lot of contractors aren't getting paid, and these companies that are, getting their jobs finished, they're now reviewing their insurance, and there's exclusions in there that shouldn't be in there.
Right.
So I'm getting waves of applications now, and they're saying, look, I can't get paid. And I actually issue them backwards insurance. The one guy today.
Are you talking the liability insurance when I call and say I need a certificate on this?
Yeah. So, now they won't pay them. So I can actually do that going back. But I told the one guy today, that policy you paid for is worthless. Right? If I issue you a policy going backwards, replacing that and giving you the coverage you need so you can get paid, they should give you your money back.
Interesting.
They should just rescind the policy. And
right.
That's every insurance department would agree that you can't be double paying for insurance. Right? If you had insurance with State Farm and you had insurance with Allstate,
right,
and you didn't use either of them, you can pick, and the other one has to give you your money back. Now, if you had a claim, both of them are going to contribute equally. That's right. What most insurance policies say. That's all of my policies. I'm excess of any other collectible insurance. I don't want State Farm settling some bullcrap claim,
right,
and then sending me half the bill.
Right.
It's like, no, you should have involved me in the litigation. I know how to manage litigation better than you guys.
Right.
So anyway, the insurance business it's a huge business. It's a huge expense. Most people hate it, right? And that's what I say to people when I meet with them. I say, so you hate insurance? I know you do. Everybody hates insurance. You know who I hate? Lawyers. So, insurance should be something that you shouldn't buy it like a banana at the grocery store.
Right.
Right? It's not. It should be custom fit like a tailored suit. And you should know, if I get sued for assault and battery, am I covered? Some job site, some guy comes to confront one of my workers, a neighbor, whatever.
Right.
I need to be covered for assault and battery.
So how do guys check with that? Because I think a lot of times the other thing that happens is I'm getting old enough that I hate dealing with people, and I realize they don't know what they're talking about, and I'm like, oh, this is dumb. Why are you here? Get me somebody else. Yeah, right. and I've offended a lot of people because I just look at them and say, look, no offense, but you have no idea what you're talking about. I need you to get somebody else in here to talk to me. So how do they do that? Because a lot of times they're dealing. I think that they think that okay, I'm going in to deal with this. This guy, obviously, this is his job. He knows what he's doing, and I have no idea that this guy doesn't have a clue, and he's just hooking me up. So how do I cover myself on that?
Well, basically, what anybody can do. I'm happy to do it for anybody. It's just a review of what you got. I'll tell you exactly what's excluded, what the limitations are, and what you need to do to solve the problem, fill the gaps.
And there's a difference between me coming to you wanting to know what gaps need to be filled and wanting a cheaper price. Because the number means nothing. A cheaper price, I can give you a cheaper price for anything, and it means nothing.
Right. I would tell you that, again, a tow truck, if you own tow trucks, I'd say, look, we're going to be between 10 and 20 grand a tow truck.
Right.
If you got something cheaper than that, let me look at it and I'll tell you what the bad parts are.
Right.
Maybe it's not such a great deal. You buy a cheap policy and they pay $1 million claims that they shouldn't be paying.
Right.
You're actually, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Because then you have that history going with you that it's
Right.
going to make it harder, right?
Yeah, like the guy with the trash truck, I gave him a $40,000 loss on his loss run. So now he can take that and go get cheaper insurance, where with anybody else it would have been $1 million, $1.5 million. So
What about when he keeps going to court? Because I'm not ever going to stop having accidents, right? It's just we're on the road too much. What happens when I keep settling and that other attorney has that I settled 3 times and it just shows that I run a really cruddy business?
Yeah, no, it's evidence. I mean, in most cases, each case will limit that history. Like if you get charged with criminal,
Right.
most cases they don't get to bring that in unless it's an extreme case, and judges don't want to prejudice it.
Right.
So this case is this case. The fact that you had prior cases sometimes will be held out.
Right.
But the lawyers know it, right? They know they got 40 grand out of you last time, and this one's worse. They can get 80 grand now or 20. And, most cases, you're not the wild card. It's the insurance company and the lawyer they've hired that are leaning towards settlement. Where I want to fight frivolous lawsuits, who's my wild card? You.
Right.
My insured. If me and you are committed partners, none of the other stuff matters. It's just noise. We'll win.
So how should people get a hold of you guys, or what should they do this spring? What are some specific things that they should go in and ask their insurance people, or how do they get a hold of you guys to make sure that they're covered? What should they be doing?
So we work with any agent, so their agent and them can come to us.
Right.
And, basically, I don't need an application. I don't need anything. Give me what you've got. I don't want to put you through a bunch of work. If we look at it and it looks like I can help you, then whatever agent you currently have, I can work with, or you can say to him, I want my applications and loss runs that you gave to the people to get me these quotes you've got me. So you're basically taking what they're presenting
Right.
to people and giving it to them, and then you and I would review it. Like you said, they might be saying you got 4 dump trucks and you got 8.
Right.
Because they know if they tell them you got 8, you're over the 5 limit, and this
Right.
company won't write you.
Right.
So, you basically do it the same way I do my own insurance. Go out and get quotes. They all have quotes or they have coverage. If you're new, you got to get some quotes. We review them, and then I give you a solution to fill the gaps, because in some cases, they'll give you coverage for the stuff under 3 stories. But
Right.
once you go over 3 stories, they won't cover you. I'll cover you for the 3 stories. And I'll write the excess or the umbrella you need, where State Farm will write the primary, or Allstate will, but they won't do the umbrella. So it's really about filling the gaps and then having an umbrella that gives you peace of mind.
So I want to ask you some business questions.
Okay.
So you go to work for your dad when you're 21, 22,
Yep.
18. What was your thought process when you got in the insurance company that you built the business from where it is to where it is now, and kind of what steps did you take? How in the world did you go from whatever that was to where you are now, and what did you do, and how did you go about doing it that you just thought, you know what, I'm just going all in?
Well, I mean, when I worked for my dad, it was a hard insurance market. So I had the vision of a hard insurance market, knew what it looked like. And, the last hard market was 1986. There's a lot of people who would argue with that and say, every time there's a hurricane, there's a hard market. Well, if
When you say hard market, are you talking a lot of claims?
premiums increase.
Right.
That's what
I see.
insured see. I mean, claims are what drives that up. So yeah, they're always going to, but you really don't see it, or people don't call it until pricing increases. So And to me, again, it was all about litigation. It's all about lawyers advertising and their goal. If it's a $50 case and they can get $5,000, that's their job. If they can get $5,000 on it last year, maybe they can get 15 this year. And you go to the legal hellholes like Florida, a quadriplegic was worth $1 million. Now it's worth 40 to 60.
Right.
If you believe Chicken Little, the sky is
right.
falling, right? So you can get scared real easily. But again, I saw that the lawyers were growing and benefiting from stupid insurance companies. And as an agent, your agent, I'm trying to talk companies into, this is a good guy. He deserves a better rate. Don't lump him in with everybody else.
Right.
And then when the claims come in, I'm arguing with lawyers. And, pretty soon I realize I'm just the stupid agent here. These guys don't listen to me. They think I'm dumb. And,
they're probably thinking you didn't understand how the system worked.
Right. Yeah. And to me, it's black and white, right or wrong. I made it real simple. And so I've always done the same thing. And eventually, I went to my dad and said, we need to start our own insurance company. And he was 65, and he said, look, I don't want any more employees. Employees are a pain in the ass. And so, my goal, I need employees. So in 94, we parted ways, and I put every penny I had in the kitty to form my own insurance company, tried to raise money with all these people, never raised any money, grew it slow, took me 24 years where it would have taken me a lot fewer had somebody believed in me. The benefit of being a failure at raising money worked out to be the best thing ever because now I own the company and my own boss.
It's usually the best, isn't it?
Yeah. If I'd have hired, and I think that's why big insurance companies make bad decisions is because there's not a single individual, right? Any big decisions made by a board. So there's 6 board members. One of them's probably a lawyer, and they're going to want to settle everything.
Right.
So, as the business owner and as the insurance company, it's up to us to tell our employees and people that work for us, no, this is what we're going to do. And if you're always taking the easy road out, you're going to end up in a whole different place than if you plow the tough ground.
That's kind of life in general too, huh?
Yeah, it's common sense,
Yeah.
I think. Maybe that's the benefit of not being overeducated.
What kind of grades did you get in high school?
Not very good. B's and C's.
Yeah.
I wasn't a good student, and I still say I enjoy the game. Learning in a book, I don't learn it that way.
Right.
Once I live it, then I understand it perfectly, and I know how to do it better the next time. Just like you said, bidding jobs and
right.
being young, and there's this song I was listening to on the way over here, Options, and he keeps saying the only option, there is no option. Right? You just got to do it.
I like that.
If you give yourself options, it's almost like a preordained excuse. Right?
Well, so in business, I actually like when everything falls apart and I'm just completely screwed. Right. I don't freak out over it. I actually start smiling and I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting to see how we work through this.
Right.
And I don't know if the word's scared. I'm not scared. I just know, look, we might be bloody when we get done, but I actually think it's really good not to have options. Like if you would have had the option of having all these other people putting money into it, you wouldn't be sitting here with the company you have today. You'd be sitting here that you had 3 different companies and, I didn't agree with them, so I left and started again, where you just had to start with from the ground up and just make it happen.
Well, I didn't have any options but to do it.
So this is a selfish question. This is like a really selfish question. At what point did you decide that you were going to get a helicopter?
Well, I started insuring helicopter ski guides in 1986, and I went flying with them, and that's when I decided I was going to get one. Took me till probably 1997 to buy my first MD helicopter, and then 2 years ago I traded that in for a newer one.
So are you 100% into MDs? Is that your bird?
Well, that's been my bird. I'm actually going to Houston tomorrow to pick up a B3, which is a A-star. It's a 7-passenger helicopter, and I'll fly it to Florida, and then I'll keep it there until I have some service work, and I'll bring it back up here. And I'll use that up here because the B3 is a bigger ship. I can take people around, and I'll take the MD down to Florida.
Yeah, is that I saw you on social media at flying? Was that the type of bird that you're flying when I saw you maybe a week or two ago? Looked like you're at a factory or something.
Yeah. I was actually at the hangar for the guy that owns the Houston Rockets, and he owns Landry's restaurants, and he's big. He's got a whole flight department. He's got 3 or 4 different helicopters, but this was his personal helicopter. And it's older, but it's really low hours.
Right.
And they took really good care of it. So I've been looking for about a year for the MD is the best ship to fly, right? It's the most maneuverable,
right.
Funnest when you step on it or move it. It's immediate. This one's good for like taking people out hunting and transporting them down to Lake Powell and stuff. But it's a powerful. It's what they use helicopter skiing.
Right. How long does it take to get from your house in Heber to Lake Powell?
Oh, probably an hour and 20.
So Tug asked me today. He told me for Christmas he wanted to get a helicopter's license, and I said, "Why not a plane?" He says, "I want a helicopter." So we love Lake Powell. I would work at a fuel dock down there if my wife would think I was okay just to be there. We've had times, and I don't know where you grew up. I grew up in Utah. Didn't go to Lake Powell much as a kid because we were poor and we didn't go out of the driveway.
Right.
But I've driven down to Lake Powell, left Friday night at 11 o'clock and got there at 4 o'clock and slept in my truck till 6, and then went up Last Chance Bay and played all day long, and then was back home at my house the next night, or that day at 9 o'clock. And people are like, "Why would you do that?" I don't care. I'll go down there and spend 3 hours there.
Yeah, I love it. I've been going down there as a family since I was 12. I'm born and raised here, so yeah, it's a great place. But we'll one of these times when I'm flying down there, you can fly with me.
Well, we're gonna work on it, but I see your bird down there when it flies over, and I don't know, I love it. I love Lake Powell. I love watching. I kind of watch you through your son a little bit. Right. You haven't posted too much, but right. I appreciate you taking time to do this. This is a big deal to me. Just I've wanted to meet you. I've wanted to talk to you about insurance, and mostly just talk to you as a person and get to know you.
Happy to do it, and I look forward to seeing you at Lake Powell. And if I fly around alone all the time, so anytime you want to jump in, let me know.
Tug actually asked me how many days a week you fly your helicopter.
Every day I can. If I'm home, I fly it every day.
Yeah. Is it where you just completely relax and can wind down?
Yeah, no, that's like my escape. So
yeah,
I try and do it at least an hour a day.
Oh, I love it. It's awesome. So thank you for spending your time. I know how busy you are, so I appreciate this more than you know.
Well, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Where can people find? They can go to Instagram and find you on X Insurance.
My email is rjl@XINSURANCE.com.
So I would encourage everybody listening, and we do have quite a few listeners. We're up a bit, but everybody really needs to take a hard look at this and be serious about this, because they don't realize what a bad situation they're in until it's already there. Right. And so I would encourage everybody at the beginning of the year right now, go get your insurance checked out. Like if this guy in Florida is worried about losing his trash business, well, he needs to be worried on the front end and make sure that he's covered, and not take the cheapest number, because that's irrelevant. You could give me a cheap number and I'm not covered for anything, and just exclude everything. Well, what do you want in the insurance? I just want a cheap number. Okay, I'll give you a cheap number. And I'm not going to look through it. So you just put all the exclusions in there. I'm covered for backing out of the driveway and hitting a trash can, and you're getting your money. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, just like you, that's the short road. You bid stuff now the right way, or you don't bid it. Same with your, insurance should have a strategy behind it, not just buying it for the cheapest price. And there's always going to be people out there bidding cheaper, moving dirt, and there's always going to be cheaper insurance. So I say pick the right. Everything's about the right people.
Right.
So focus on that, but the exclusions and limitations, and think about what the plan is when shit hits the fan, because it's why you buy insurance. Shit happens.
But nobody says that when you're buying insurance.
Right.
Nobody says. Even my insurance company that I deal with now, we've not ever talked about, okay, how do we protect on the back end? It's just like, oh, you've got this truck.
Right.
Okay, we've got this kind of liability, and
when we include the active shooter and the COVID, we tell you, how we're going to defend you. So like with the active shooter coverage, you can call the Department of Homeland Security and they come give you a company plan.
right,
Which if you don't do that, which is free, then the event happens, the lawyers make you look stupid. It's like, so did you know there was this free service you could have? No, I didn't know that.
that's
you
Mark
almost,
1, right?
Yeah, you almost start feeling bad. Like, oh, I should have done more. It's like, well,
And we do have, most of our guys do concealed carry,
right.
just because I'm
We cover concealed carry permit holders. We cover a lot of police officers now because they're having to carry personal coverage because of the way the laws are changing.
right.
Colorado was the first to pass it, but we're doing the city of Boulder and a lot of their departments. We cover the individual officers.
Right, which is kind of tragic that they don't have somebody else backing them.
Yeah, well, it's like everything else. When the bullets start flying, they run for the hills.
Yep.
We run at it instead of running away from it. So
Yeah, the one thing I liked when you're talking about when there are problems, you run out there. That's my thing with everything. As soon as there's a problem, you need to run out there with a bucket of water and put that fire out so it doesn't grow into a monster. So
right. It's like mold in the fridge. Do
Yep.
something about it.
yeah, clean it out. Well, thank you. Happy New Year and best of a new year to you. I appreciate you doing this. This was awesome.
You bet. Thanks
So,
for asking me.
Thank you.
You bet.
What you say and what you mean, it can be two different things, and I